And a very good Monday morning. Welcome inside our studios here. It is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel from Charlotte, North Carolina. I am Gary Williams, and we are presented by Century Insurance, right by you, and our 3 North Carolina-based partners as well, Peter Millar, Pinehurst, and Golf Pride. We can't do what we do without that great sponsorship and partnership from those wonderful companies. We've got a Super Bowl matchup, Philly and Kansas City. And if this was a competition among city golf courses between Philadelphia or the greater Philadelphia area and Kansas City, it would be no contest. But we know that football games are not played on golf courses. They are played on televisions. So we will have 2 weeks of a build-up for this game. We've seen it before. Heartbreaking. I do feel for Buffalo Bills fans, and for the Washington fans, you're ahead of schedule. You got your guy. Just settle in for what should be a great ride. And like I said, we've got 2 weeks of the build-up. On the golf side, which is what we do here, smartly, we had a Saturday finish for the Farmers Insurance Open. Harris English wins for the 5th time on the PGA Tour, coming off of hip surgery. We take a look at the final leaderboard. He wins by a shot over Sam Stevens, who is, I think, destined to win on the PGA Tour. Andrew Novak gets a 3rd alone, the young man who played college golf down the road at Wofford College in Spartanburg. Sungjae Im, who lives inside the top 10. You consider for Sungjae Im, he has 184 starts on his PGA Tour career. That is his 47th top 10. Chris Ventura, another guy who played at Oklahoma State. That's his best finish, his first top 5 on the PGA Tour. Hayden Springer is 6th alone, and then you had the likes of Taylor Pendrith and Will Gordon. Will Gordon coming off an injury-filled 2024, the young man from Vanderbilt, and just up the road from Davidson, North Carolina, Joel Damon, who looks great physically. He finished in a tie for 9th, as did Lanto Griffin, who was actually a guy who touched the lead. For Harris English, look, this is his 5th win. And Harris is somebody who, you go back, when you're on a Walker Cup team, you're an it guy. And if you look at that 2011 Walker Cup team, Patrick Cantley, Jordan Spieth, Russell Henley, Nathan Smith, my guy who's now the Walker Cup captain, who will captain the team later this year at Cypress Point. By the way, you want to go to one of the great events in golf, one of the great events in sports, go to that. But congratulations to Harris English. He is somebody who kind of reached his peak. You hope it's not his only peak. In 2021, he had that 2-win season representing the United States on the Ryder Cup team. It's nice to see him win again coming off of that hip surgery. And he's somebody who has been, for the last decade, one of the best putters on the PGA Tour. If you look at his scrambling stats this week, 22 of 27 scrambling, that is how he won that golf tournament. But the story really, in particular, the last 2 rounds in that final round on Saturday, was how excruciatingly slow the pace of play was. And Dottie Pepper, who doesn't suffer fools, she was a great player. She's an elite on-course reporter, and she made it unequivocally clear that this is totally unacceptable. And she's right. She's right that pace of play on the PGA Tour is a problem. Now, pace of play is not the reason why the workforce is shrinking. It's shrinking because the best players on the PGA Tour leverage the tour to give them more insulation, more money, and so now we're going to have smaller fields, less guys with fully exempt status, and we'll talk about that as the season goes along. Sean Zak is going to join us here in about 10 minutes, a terrific young writer from Golf Magazine and golf.com, and we'll talk about some of the things going on tour. But let me just give you a little hypothetical, and let me ask you to exercise your minds as to how you think you would have felt on Saturday, in all due respect to Andrew Novak, Sam Stevens, and the winner, Harris English. But let's substitute Harris English for Scottie Scheffler. Okay, so it's Scottie Scheffler who is nursing this 1-shot lead, and yes, it's excruciatingly slow. And let's substitute Rory McIlroy for Sam Stevens. And so it's Rory who dumps it in the penalty area on 18, and he's the one who's got to take that awkward drop where Trevor Immelman suggested, you know what, why didn't he drop further back so that he could have more room to spin the golf ball? And then Sam Stevens, but now it's Rory, hits this spicy little pitch that kisses the flagstick. Are you bitching and moaning about pace of play if it's Scheffler and it's Rory? And let's just substitute Xander Schauffele for Andrew Novak. So let's put those guys in the middle of that scene and let's see how much we wanted them to finish and get off the screen. No, you wouldn't have. This is a problem, pace of play, but you have to understand, if you're watching this show, and God love you for watching, but if you're watching, you're really immersed in the sport. And you're taking the time to think, my God, they've played 4 holes and it's taken an hour and 10 minutes. And it is a problem. And by the way, if the PGA Tour really wanted to change this, they could. And maybe they will, because right now this has become a serious hot button cause celeb. But it's because of who it was, not what it was. And that gets to why we keep distracting ourselves from what the real problem is. The best players are not playing as much as we want, and some of the best players are not there at all because they're playing on LIV. So the other thing that I saw this little kind of, not dust up, I thought it was a good dialogue on social media over the weekend between Paige Spiranac, who's one of the biggest stars on the kind of social media content creation front, with Kyle Porter, who's a terrific, thoughtful young writer, and the idea of where is the problem here? Because more people are watching YouTube and they're not watching the PGA Tour, and they're watching YouTube because the younger generation has an attention issue. Excrement. That's a line, or actually a word, that was a great punctuating line from Robin Williams in the movie Dead Poets Society. Excrement. The younger generation does not have an attention issue. They binge watch entire seasons of shows in one night. They wait for White Lotus and Shogun to get released, and then they watch like 9 episodes in a row. 30 years ago, we had to wait 7 days to get Seinfeld, Friends, and ER on the same night. And it felt like a Game 7 every 7 days. They don't have an attention issue. They have what is a desiring issue, like give it to me now, because I don't want to wait for it. But if you give them what they want, they'll stick around. That's why they binge entire seasons in one night. So look, it is the best players simultaneously doing it together that will have us talking much less about pace of play. And I'm not saying it's not a problem. I find it insufferable to sit there and watch these guys. And here's the thing, the idea that, well, they're making a living, let them take their own time. It's funny how if they want to finish their round under the cover of darkness, that they'll run from one green to the next tee to put a tee in the ground so that they can get an extra 15 or 20 minutes of sleep, as opposed to finishing that final round or the next round that next morning. We have what is right now a sport, not a game, a sport divided. Sean Zak, I mentioned him from Golf Magazine. He covers the sport as well as anybody. He's going to join me. We'll talk about, not necessarily in detail what happened over the weekend, but as we go forward, some of the challenges the PGA Tour currently finds himself dealing with. And here's the thing about challenges or difficulties. You know what? Get used to it. There's a great book by Ryan Holiday, The Obstacle is the Way. We all have obstacles. Deal with them, and deal with them effectively. And oh, by the way, I mentioned LIV. Harold Varner is going to join me in studio before he departs to go all over the world to play golf. Is he happy about the decision he made? And what's ahead for him and what's ahead for LIV and the PGA Tour? He will be with me for the final half hour of the program. It's Monday morning. It is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel, simulcast also on the PGA Tour Radio Network, and we are back with you right after this. We are back here. It is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel, 12 minutes past the hour of this segment, brought to you by Pinehurst, the cradle of American golf. There is always a good reason and always a good time to be at Pinehurst. And coming in May, the first on-course housing option that they're going to have on Pinehurst number 8. Speaking of cradles of golf, the guy joining me now wrote a book, Searching in St. Andrews, a wonderful writer from Golf Magazine, golf.com, and Sean Zak. He joins me now. Good morning. I know you're in Central Time. That hour seems precious, but thank you for joining me. How are you?
Good morning. The sun is rising over the lake right now, so we got a big week on hand here in Chicago. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining me. Look, the thing that I love, first of all, you cover the sport expertly. I love your team at Golf Magazine. You guys kick things around. You dive deep into stuff. Let's try to dive into these challenges the tour currently has. Justin Thomas pens a letter. I want to say it's his own Jerry Maguire mission statement about mid-round interviews, and we need to do more. And I appreciated that pace of play. Are these red herrings from what we're diverting our eyes and our minds away from, or are these legitimate issues that are harming or kind of dulling the overall product?
I think really the letter from Justin Thomas and the other things that you would refer to, it just feels like a little bit too little, too late, if you will. I mean, when you think about JT himself, thinking about the broadcasts, encouraging guys to do mid-round interviews. We're like 5 years into this journey. Like, think back 5 years, 2020, Ricky Fowler did a mic'd up entire round as golf was coming back from the COVID break, an entire round of mic'd up TV, which was really good. And he was the only player who agreed to do it that week. Fast forward 5 years, and we still have a top player trying to encourage guys to be a little bit more involved in the broadcast. We're talking about a progress issue. Like, I'm not sure if they're red herrings as much as we're looking around and saying, guys, we've been talking about enjoying on the broadcast a lot the last 5 years. Where is the progress on that front? Where is the progress on issue once every 6 months without a bunch of solutions?
You know, Sean, the Signature Series event this week, it's great. Look, it's Pebble Beach. It is aesthetically as pleasing as anything. Scheffler's going to play for the first time. But this feels almost like it's too precious, that these events are going to feel really finite. Rory's not going to be there. He's going to play golf in a simulator tonight, but he won't be at Pebble Beach this week. So is the Signature Series a good thing, and is this current iteration something that you think is sustainable and will become a bona fide asset to the overall product of the PGA Tour?
Yeah, I actually am very optimistic and like high on the signature events, mostly just because they are the PGA Tour's crown jewels. The PGA Tour does not own any of the majors, and the PGA Tour owns a lot of pro golf, so they got to have events that they push us towards. I think in its current iteration, it checks a lot of boxes for me because it does not feel like a closed shop. Harris English is probably going to be in the signature events in 2026. Sam Stevens right now, because he contended last weekend, is probably going to be in a number of signature events moving forward because he's been the guy who's been playing hot. That's a way in to the signature events. If you're a Max Grazerman type, not the biggest name in the world, hasn't won yet, but you played really good golf in 2024, look, you're going to be in the signature events in 2025. And so it feels like when we talk about the WGC, it was the top 50 players in the world or the top 64 players in the world. I mean, you're talking about getting the best from the group of 75 to 125 and joining them up with the top 50. So I think it's a good construction, and it's taken to some of the best courses, the tour visits all season long. Like, I don't really know there's a lot that I would do to change it other than like maybe get one a little bit earlier in the year, in the middle of January, so we don't have to wait till early February to actually see it.
So Jordan Spieth's going to play this week, and for people who were 15, 10 years ago, I promise you he was a thing. Like, he was a legit he was a legit thing. This is tricky because we're talking about an injury, and an injury to an area of the body that can be something that can linger and could marginalize a lot of people, and has. That is his left wrist. Can he, do you think he will, in terms of your own intuition, become a very viable asset once again? Not that he isn't still, but you know what I mean, again, for the PGA Tour?
Yeah, you're talking about his golf there, because as an asset, he is a big name. He's fifth in the player impact program. People buy tickets to watch Jordan Spieth. But in terms of his golf, is he viable? Is when you put him on television, is he going to be in contention? I tend to be optimistic about him too. Like, I'm not normally this much of an optimistic, Gary, but Jordan has gone through lulls. Will he get back to 2015? I don't think anyone is expecting that, but we've seen him go through a lull in 2019 and 2020, and then he came out of it on the other side and was frankly a top 15 player in the world. I think that's a good goal for him to get back to, is top 15, top 20, and he's no longer swinging with pain, but he's also no longer swinging with the idea of pain. I think that's what we saw from him last year, is that wrist issue. While it didn't hurt him on every single shot, it was right here in the back of his mind thinking, oh gosh, this last 6 inches before the golf ball, is this going to lead to wrist pain? And is this going to set me back for a few days? So now that that is out of his mind, he can play freely. I think that's the best version of Jordan Spieth, is a free-thinking, free-flowing player.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think the part that you said, free thinking, where it's about visualizing what he wants the ball to look like in the air as opposed to the technical aspects, which I think have been, I don't know, I don't want to say debilitating, but I think have been part of this, in addition, most importantly, to the injury itself. I mentioned simulator golf. You took in TGL. Look, these are a lot of high-profile people. There's also a lot of very smart people involved in this project. What are your early impressions of this?
Again, I'm normally not this optimistic, but I thought that they had a good start. It opened up with like a B plus is what my kind of score was. But there's things that you need to do that are going to be different in person than what you were giving people on the television screen. Like, in person, there needs to be an environment that is convincing the people watching on TV. I kind of want to get down to Southern Florida and check that out. And right now, I think they're lacking a little bit. There's a little bit of a dull time when it goes to commercial break on your television screen when you are in the arena. We cannot have TGL in arena being dull at any point of your 2.5 hours there on site. And then on the TV, I think it moves pretty well. I think there's good pace to it. But do we need to show the entirety of Kevin Kisner's intro music, right? I don't think we need all of that, because frankly, they've been doing those intros, and they've been doing an interview with Scott Van Pelt and one of the players. And you're talking about TGL teeing off like 17 minutes into the hour of its coverage. You're using that first 17 minutes and not showing any golf shots. We may want to get that within the first 7 minutes, because if we're going from, let's say, Duke basketball into simulator, mixed reality, somewhat fake golf, like we're going from real sports to somewhat fake sports. I want to see the fake sports immediately. I want to see the crazy golf hole. I want to see golf shots smacking into the screen. We got to move a little bit quicker with it.
I think it is ironic, though, that Duke's game, in terms of that audience, had to wait for TGL to resolve itself. Whereas for years, that window on Sunday, you'd have like Illinois and Northwestern, and you're going, can you end this thing at 3, please? So we can get out to Torrey Pines, and that the flip was scripted. And by the way, the audience nosedived, went from roughly 1 million people watching simulator golf to the biggest brand in college basketball at just over 500,000. Last thing, Harold Varner is going to join me here in a minute in studio. LIV's got a TV deal. They've got mainstream sponsorship that seems to be being added to their portfolio on a daily basis. They have a new CEO. Where is the plausible re-entry points or entry points for a PGA Tour player being a wild card entry on a LIV event and vice versa? When's that going to happen, and how's it going to happen?
Well, I think, frankly, there will be no PGA Tour players getting wild card going over to LIV right now, just because that is something the Tour has often suspended players for asking for. I think on the opposite side of that street, I was recently talking with Bubba Watson, and Bubba is a numerous time champion at Riviera, 3-time champion at the Travelers. I think the easiest step would be to allow LIV golfers to play tournaments they have won before. Now, Riv and Travelers, those are both signature events. We just talked about the field creation. That's a little bit trickier. But for Jon Rahm to play the Amex, right? Or for Jon Rahm to have played Torrey Pines, for Bryson to have played any of the events that he has won. I think that would be the most natural way of, like, we're not pushing a ton of people out of these fields. We're actually just causing a little bit of room pretty high up the category rank list of, hey, man, you won here before. The fans really enjoyed when you won here. We're bringing you back as a wild card to just kind of mix things up a little bit more. That seems like the first step. But Gary, when you talk about setting a schedule, LIV Golf is going to play 14 tournaments between next week and the end of August. If you add in the majors, that'll be 18 tournaments. We're talking about 18 tournaments in 30-week schedule. You guys are going to need off weeks. Like, where are you going to put these PGA Tour events? Suddenly making a schedule, if you are a player who wants to play both these tours in that hypothetical world, you're not going to have any off weeks. It's a tough schedule to make.
No, that's very fair. Let me ask you one last thing about Scottie Scheffler. He's going to play this week. He's not doing TGL. He will never, ever walk anywhere near any social media platform. Can his mere greatness, just him being great, be enough to attract somebody who's casual?
I don't think so. And I know that would be the most pessimistic thing I've said this morning. But I think the tough thing about Scottie is that he doesn't care to really dive into the history as much as Tiger was. Tiger had 18, right, majors in his mind at all times. And I think it's a bit of a Scottie Scheffler superhuman trait that he doesn't dive into the narratives that you and I will present him with. You were going to ask him a question at the Masters in a few months that he may not lean in if you ask him about the history that he's making. He would rather keep that all out of sight, out of mind. And I think for a casual, you want to dive in and say, well, is he going to be as good as Tiger Woods? Is he going to chase after Tiger's record? Is his 2024 season as good as Tiger's 2000 season? Bubba Watson told me that recently. Bubba thought it was just as good as Tiger's 2000 season. To have those comparisons are the kind of things that I think bring the casuals in. And right now, I think Scottie doesn't love leaning into those things.
No, he doesn't. And I think he expertly is the little kid whose mom is insisting that broccoli is good for him, and he puts his hands over his ears and says, la, 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 la. I'm not going to entertain any of this stuff. And I think that's why his mind is so quiet for him to do what he does. Thank you for doing this. I'm looking forward to doing this a lot this year, and I will see you soon enough.
Talk soon, Gary. Thank you.
Okay, Sean Zak, and again, read all of his stuff. And he's also got a great podcast as well at golf.com and Golf Magazine. We take a break. I mentioned Harold Varner. He's going to join me. And what did I see this past week in golf? We'll get to that. We're back. 5 Clubs on Golf Channel and on the PGA Tour Radio Network on Sirius XM. Back after this. "29 minutes past the hour. Welcome back in. It is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. I am Gary Williams. This segment brought to you by Peter Millar, where luxury meets performance. Everything on me, and has been for the last 14 years, whether it's going to the gym, going to a game, going to a meeting, playing golf, it is always Peter Millar. What did I see over the weekend or this last week in golf? Let me just focus primarily on the Farmers Insurance Open. Chris Ventura, who had a wonderful career at Oklahoma State, has finally played his way onto the PGA Tour. Look, we're seeing more and more facial hair this year on the PGA Tour. And Chris Ventura has very lean mustache. He looks like a clumsy villain from a Coen Brothers movie. Don't lose it, keep it. First of all, you had your best finish ever on the PGA Tour. Why would you change? And I'm not suggesting he's going to. I love it. Jason Day, I mentioned last week how youthful he looks. He wore a Malbon motif sweater the last day, and some people were like, oh God, that's not good. Oh no, au contraire. It was fantastic. The fact that he was not scripted to wear that and he wore it anyway, and he's owning it, I loved it. I want more of it. Now, there are some things that he wears that seem kind of baggy, like he looks like he's an extra from 8 Mile, but not that thing. That was fantastic. Also, Luke Clanton. Now, it wasn't so much what he wore, it's the way he is. Now, Luke Clanton is probably going to be fully exempt on the PGA Tour while he's still a member of the Florida State Seminoles golf team because of how good he's been in these finite opportunities he's had starting last summer. He didn't have the final round that he wanted, but if you watch him, first of all, I've always believed this about athletes. I mentioned this about Russell Henley. He's a little pigeon-toed. That's an athlete. Guys who are slightly bow-legged, they're an athlete. Here's the other thing about Luke Clanton, the way his gait, the way he walks, he reeks of belief. That guy is going to make a very, very good living on the PGA Tour. You can just tell he knows, based on how he walks, that he belongs. All right, we take a break right here. When we continue, Harold Varner is going to join me right here in studio. Made the choice in August of 2022 to join LIV. He leaves today to start barnstorming all over the world. Where is he now about that decision? And as he looks ahead, what does he see for LIV and the PGA Tour? Nice to have you with us. It's Monday morning. It is 5 Clubs. We're back right after this. It is 35 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. It is Monday morning here on 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. Also simulcast on the PGA Tour Radio Network on Sirius XM. This segment brought to you by Golf Pride. And how about that? Harris English won this week using this grip, the Align Max, which will be available to you in about 2 weeks' time. I've got it on my driver, and I've had it for 2 months. It's the best grip I've ever had. It's like truly like laces on a football. They're untouchable. Golf Pride, they are the standard on the only thing you touch on a golf club. All right, joining me now in studio. Good to see him. He is headed out to go to, I don't know, like 7,000 miles away from here. He is Harold Varner. How are you, my friend?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm good. You know what? It's so good to see you, and I'm so glad you're still you, because it was about 8:20, and I could feel my phone vibrating. Harold's calling me while I'm in the middle of doing this show.
Yeah, I'm tend to be a little late, so I was sitting at the wrong door, and I was like pulling on, and I'm like, hey man, last time I think I came in this door. I'm kind of confused, but yeah, we figured it out.
You leave this afternoon, you're going to India, you start your season. Look, it was August of 2022 you made the choice to go to LIV. What is the best thing about that decision?
The time. Obviously, I've always heard about when your kids get old enough.
Yep.
You know, like my oldest is figuring out that I'm leaving. So it gets harder, but you enjoy being home. But before, you're always gone, you know, and obviously there's some other things that, you know, I thoroughly enjoyed this, you know, having enough money to do the things
Look,
that I really
you were
wanted to do.
one of the few guys, honestly, at the beginning that struggled with just telling the truth, man. It's a lot of money.
It is. I think it's very, for me, I just grew up in a different spot, obviously, than some other people. I've learned that, you know, after going to LIV, that not many people can relate to where I grew up. So I don't need to sit here and be like, well, I did it for this or that. I just think that just be consistent, you know, and I think I'm going to do a lot of great things with it that I'm pretty fortunate to be doing.
Well, look, I was lucky enough. You invited me to be a part of your 100-hole hike at the Cradle, raised a lot of money. And at a time where, look, you've got these designated outlets that you're trying to impact in a very positive way, but we didn't foresee what happened in Western North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I know that you were able to put a lot of money in places that desperately need it. So those are the areas you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a, as a person of the community, you have a duty to serve others when you have the opportunity. For me personally, that place has been great to me, just in general. Banner Elk area, just the families, everything you can think of, but to actually drive up there and see some of the stuff, kind of like, to me, it kind of messed me up. I just thought it was way worse than what I saw on TV, and you know, you have to do that. It's my home state, and obviously the 100-hole hike is a fun way to raise money to do it. I mean, I don't really like walking 100 holes, but
It worked out great. Full-length holes.
I don't care. It's still 100 holes. I'm not a big walker. No, it's a great cause. I enjoyed it. We'll do it again, but I mean, I get about 70 and I'm just like, so can we just like get a card around here? No, thanks for coming. It was so fun.
Great. It was great. And it was great to see you around people that mean a lot to you, not only lifelong friends, but people who've been advocates for you. What has been the hardest part of making the choice to do what you did? Has there been some things that have been challenging?
I think the hardest part at first was just, you know, you like to be liked. I don't care what anyone says. That's just the reality of the world. Not some people just disliking it for when they don't know they don't know everything. That's the hardest part. And you shouldn't feel like every time you wake up you have to explain to someone why you did it, or you were in this position and these are reasons why you're going to do it. And to that, as bad as I didn't like it, or much as I didn't like it, it actually helped me out a lot. Like, be comfortable who you are. Just be, like, they don't have to like you. And, some of my relationships have gotten so much better, and then some, people they took it a lot different than I thought they would, and that's okay. They just really weren't your real friends, and that's, your parents tell you that when you're a kid, but you don't ever listen, and then when it becomes a reality, you just kind of, good thing they didn't say I told you so.
The perception that plenty of people have of LIV is shotgun starts, 54 holes, loud music, that it's unserious. I know you're going to tell me it is serious, obviously. What is misunderstood, if anything, about LIV?
I think the biggest mistake is people don't come see it. I think everyone's got an opinion that they've never seen it. It's like food. Like, you tell your kid, hey, try this, it's not as bad. Last night I had to trick my kid into eating a pork chop. I told him it's a steak, and he's like, this is good. So you don't know what you don't like until you see it. I think golf is changing. It's obviously taken forever to play, so I think people are in a position where you can like what you want to like, but don't judge me for what I like. Just be okay with it. It's golf. At the end of the day, it's golf, man. We got people hitting in arenas. We got people in shotgun starts. We got traditional golf. Like, come on, man. Like, it's not that many people are watching golf anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yesterday was a sport. Like, this team lost by 30 and we're still watching. Like, come on. Like, that's a real sport. There's an amount of people that are watching where you are literally like trying to get as much attention as possible. We're never going to get to that point in golf. I don't care what you do. Unless someone walks out there naked.
Niche.
Yeah, so you gotta you just appreciate everything, take it as it is. If you don't like it, just shut up and go watch what you like. And that's just the beauty of life. That's why America's the greatest place in the world, because you can do that. So once again, I don't need to sit here and explain why we should or shouldn't do anything. And I feel like that's what everyone's been doing. Like, if you don't like LIV, this is why I don't like it. If you like LIV, this is why I like it. You shouldn't have to do that in life. You should just be like, I don't like it. All right, cool, man. We're not making love to each other, so it's fine.
Right. You did not just run right out of the door at first. You struggled to a degree with 100%. The decision. So how do you look at the tour now? Is it in the rearview mirror? Do you still pay attention? What is your view now?
Well, I've had caddies and people, I've seen around, and, especially in South Florida, you see them all the time, and then some stay at my house in Charlotte when they come for the tournament. So, I've been to a tournament every year that, I don't know, it's my home club, so
sure.
I don't really think much of it. I didn't realize how much other people think of it. I think without the PGA Tour, LIV wouldn't have been an opportunity. So, I'm grateful, attitude of gratitude, and the best you can be. I don't know what that looks like. I'm just trying to focus on the now, because I played so bad last year. I'm kind of really not happy with that. So that's my number one priority. Good golf takes care of everything. But at the same time, I'm thankful for the tour. They gave me a lot of opportunity. Once again, I made more money than I ever thought I could playing the tour. So it's just, I don't know, that's the way I look at it. No one has to like it, but I'm thankful for the tour.
You mentioned a word we're going to focus on when we come back, and it's just that word. It's focus, and how things can be affected in your life to do that. And money is one of those things. Harold Varner, kind enough to be with us in studio. It's 43 minutes past the hour. Nice to have you with us. It's 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. We're back right after this. It is 46 minutes past the hour. Gary Williams, very pleased to be joined in studio by Harold Varner. His season beginning officially for LIV next week. You're outbound tonight, flying to the other side of the world. You mentioned the money, and you were honest about the money at the beginning. Other sports, we know that a lot of athletes get a lot of upfront money. It's not part of the environment of golf until it is now. Has money affected focus for you at all?
I wouldn't say. I think it's just giving me time to do other things. But it's just not because I'm not I think I can do other things that I couldn't do before. I think that's more of a time thing. When I'm only playing 16 events a year now. Before I was playing 30. I think it's more of I had to work instead of there's no tournaments to play in. From I guess our last term was September till this week. I've only played once, so we'll see how it goes. I think I'm gonna have to grow up as a golfer, as a human. I think you have to do that with kids in general, but it's gonna be important for me to just be able to like, hey, we're not gonna do this when it's this close to the season. But I try to live like it's, tomorrow's my last, because it honestly could be. So
right.
I think that's how you should live.
We've seen some LIV guys who have histories on the DP World Tour play some DP World Tour events, that there is a re-entry point for some of these guys. Do you anticipate maybe trying to play more this year?
No.
No.
I don't think so. No, I don't. I just want to play.
What about majors? Look, here's the thing, Harold.
No, that's a totally different ball game. You just totally that's like an international series event, or I mean, if I can get into a major, I will be there. Don't worry. Like
okay.
I'm gonna try to do the U.S. Open. Like I'm gonna try to play those.
You are?
Yeah, hell yeah. Why would I not? That's the dumbest thing I could honestly. That's sometimes I sit there and people are like, I don't want to play. I'm like, you're an idiot. There's a reason why they want all the best players to be in one event. Like, it gets people watching. It's where the money is, and I still enjoy being good at golf. I think that you have a talent, and it's a craft, and I enjoy working it. But the majors versus playing a DP World event are two different ball games. I mean, even no offense to the PGA Tour, like
sure.
I don't want to be the one to be the ruffle the feathers to come back. I just want to play the majors, the LIV stuff, till it all calms down, and let the people that and the power they are just do their job and try to come with the best plan to figure out how to get back in the majors. Yeah, I would love that. That would be insanely ideal. But you know what? When you're playing the way I played last year, you're probably not going to get in the majors. So I have to handle one thing that I can control, and that's attitude and just being ready to play right now. So.
I asked you about challenges or things that the good stuff, and then the challenging stuff. Look, if you look at your last 3 major starts, they were your 3 best in terms of the results. You also were in the final group of a major. And I know you didn't have a great final day in 2019 at the PGA. However,
trending.
That part of seeing your world ranking go in a different direction, not having that opportunity based on what you might do on the PGA Tour to get the entry, that has to have been excruciatingly hard for you to not have the chance to be in those events.
For sure. At the start, it was, but it's funny. You wake up every day to try to see how high your world ranking, and it doesn't fulfill what you thought it did.
Okay.
I think if people were honest, if they could sit there and be like, what does the world ranking do for you? Like, personally, like, my kid doesn't care. My wife could give 2. I can't use that word, but she doesn't care. But so at the start, at the start it was interesting that when it was dropping, like I know I'm better than that. And what's interesting is like people that are making the rules, like I mean I don't even know what I'm ranked right now, but I bet it's not what it just
not
doesn't
representative
so,
of
like,
who you are.
They don't care either. So it's just whatever. Like I'm gonna do what I'm told to do and what I want to do, and that's play golf. One thing I've learned, and I was talking about yesterday, is like just don't take the joy away that golf has given me. It's given me so much. And I think for a while there, like everyone was so worried about what was going on in the golf world that like honestly I didn't care, and you didn't want to be rude and be like, hey, I don't care. Don't take the joy away of golf. I love it. It's so fun. I met some incredible people that have changed my life, and I'm not going to let anyone get in the way of that this year.
The whole idea of living the PGA Tour, finding a common ground. I had Bryson on 2 weeks ago, and he thought it wasn't beyond the realm of possibility that a LIV player could play in a PGA Tour event before the end of this year. Where do you see it? Where is it going to be in a year?
That is $1 million question.
Yeah.
When people ask these things before, you'd be like, well, this is how they should do it. We should play in the fall. LIV should play in the fall. PGA Tour play in the other season. I'll be honest with you, I don't even have an opinion because I don't know what. I think it's kind of weird that and LIV keeps hiring people. PGA Tour keeps going in this direction, and you say you're merging. If I wanted to merge with you, I wouldn't do that. So I always ask other people, I'm like, how would you, if you wanted to merge, what would you do? I think it's going to be more of a partnership, however that looks. I don't think it's going to look the way that
a lot of people thought it was going to look.
I don't think. I agree.
No, I agree with you. Look, they got a TV deal, and that's okay. I think for the consumer, it's okay. They're going to be 2 separate entities, but if there's more opportunity for the best players, biggest names to share space more, other than 4 weeks out of the year, that's what the consumer wants.
Yeah.
Wherever the environment is.
I agree. It's but that's funny you asked that. Is that because like I don't have a Like if you were sitting there and you said I don't know what's going to happen is there's not going to be enough room for everyone to come back.
Yeah.
I think that's the catch. Like, oh, we're going to let 20 people in, and they're cutting it down on the PGA Tour. If I was a PGA Tour player, I would be highly irate if you let guys just come back in. But then you got a guy like Bryson who's got the gazillion views and has all the time to be like likable now.
Too valuable to keep him out. That's the bottom line.
Like if you like making, if you're running a business and these guys that have invested in the PGA Tour and invested in LIV, at some point they're going to want to return. I don't blame them. If I give money, I want a return on investment. So like, if I know I can make more money with Bryson playing on my tour, I'm going to make sure Bryson plays on my tour.
All right, let me get you out of here. These quick 5 questions. We're going to do this in 90 seconds. The LIV player that most people don't know, but by the end of 2025, they will.
I think Caleb Surratt.
Okay.
Charlotte. Biased. That's super biased, but he's been playing great.
He's an it kid. There's no doubt. All right, name the hobby you would get into if time and money were not an issue. Well, we know that money is not an issue.
It is. That's what I'm saying. Cost of living isn't going down. I would say I would snowboard every day.
All right, good one. If you could be an adult in any past decade, what decade would you choose?
I wouldn't choose the one where I was a slave, though. I'd say right now.
Okay.
Right now it's pretty good.
All right, your favorite hang in golf is where?
The Grove's pretty good. Quell's pretty good. I have some great hangs. I'm super fortunate. So without time and money and access, those things would not have happened. So I'm super appreciative because without golf, that wouldn't have happened.
Let's add congaree. I know that's one of your.
That one's good for every time you go there, you just know you're helping out some kids that
Absolutely.
Someone like me.
All right, last thing. Would you rather your wife, Amanda, have a perfume that smelled like freshly baked cookies or pizza?
I'm not going to do a mixture. I'd say pizza, actually. She'll never see this, but I'd say pizza.
Why would she never see it?
Because she doesn't. She's actually taking care of her kids.
All right.
I'm just sitting here enjoying life.
Thank you. We got to run to a break. Thank you for being here. Travel safe.
Will do. I'll tell the pilot.
All right. Very good. We come back, wrap it up on a Monday right after this. Final moments here on a Monday. Matt Adams to follow us. Fairways of Live tomorrow. Guys won a U.S. Open of Players and a PGA. Made a putt to win a Ryder Cup. Going to be in the World Golf Hall of Fame. It's been an unusual career for Martin Kaymer. Got a lot to discuss with him. He's going to join me as well. First event for the LPGA is this week. Lauren Coughlin's going to join us on Wednesday. Taylor Zarza in studio on Wednesday as well. Today is January 27th. And born on this day, somebody who, without her, I'm not sitting here. Happy birthday to my wife. That was on my birthday. She said, "What do you want?" I said, "I'd like to walk over that bridge again," which we did. And I've spent a lot of days on golf courses with her. Most importantly, just a lot of days with her. So happy birthday to my wife, Julie Lynn Williams. It is her birthday today, January 27th. As I mentioned, tomorrow, Martin Kaymer, you go back 10 years and he got to world number 1 as well. He's had a very interesting journey. He's also been very, very outspoken about the way that LIV players have been portrayed over the last couple of years. I'm looking forward to that conversation. And we got a signature series event. Scotty Scheffler is going to play golf. And Rory and Tiger tonight in TGL. That will do a very good number. Have a wonderful Monday. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.